Good morning. Glad it's not raining today. All right, super. But if it were raining, we would need these two gentlemen to help us to get us here. So I'm totally jazzed to have them on the stage, both Ankit and Nikunj. Nikunj, I've been following as part of, he's been a member of our cohort of the DeepTech Club for many years now, from the early days of DeepTech Club, 7 years. Ankit from ideaForge. ideaForge requires little introduction. They were one of the deep tech companies which we all watched gladly that went public a short while ago. So both of them are experts in their field. So my job here is to stay out of their way, prime some questions, but stay out of their way. But again, during the introductory conversations we were having, what was actually very, it was very heartening to hear that while they compete in the market, of course, they will differentiate for us what each of them do. But in the true spirit of the ecosystem, they're also good friends. That's what I hear. But we'll hear from them. But I think I was talking to Harish Mehta, who was the first chairman of NASScom, and he has written this book, Maverick Effect. And one of the things he talks about NASSCOM's journey is the fact that bitter rivals in the market can come together for the larger good. And I think the two gentlemen here represent that in big buckets. So I'll start off with both of them introducing themselves. Ankit, we'll start with you because you've been on this journey, I think, a little longer, almost 2 decades, which is fantastic given the journey overall. And then we'll follow it with Nikunj. So Ankit, over to you.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Ram. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here and to share a little bit about ideaForge. We started building drones 20 years back in 2004 because one of my co-founders was my 2 years junior at IIT Bombay. He said, I want to make a hovercraft and float it in the Powai Lake, which is right next to our campus. And that got me excited as well about aerial robotics. And we started building, but we wanted to build something more innovative than what was built already. And we came up with this idea of a quadcopter. Thought we've changed the aviation world, not knowing that 60 years nothing had moved. But the idea got us hooked onto, and we built our first prototype in 2004. 2004 till 8, we were having fun with the technology. In 2008, we helped IIT Bombay secure top honors in a competition alongside MIT US. And that win for IIT Bombay, backed by our technology, made a lot of labs in the country acknowledge that there is a team that can build all of this tech stack from grounds up. And they wanted to give us the autopilot, which is the brains of a drone, to try and make a lot of their unmanned programs successful. So in 2008-9 timeframe, we delivered the world's smallest and lightest autopilot at that time. That was built by us to our labs in the country, and made a lot of their programs successful. Then in 2008, we had the attacks in Mumbai. And while we were doing and having a lot of fun building this technology, we thought that instead of those helicopters trying to look into the 3rd and 4th floor of the hotel, it should have been one of our drones doing that job. And that's what gave us the, you can say, the kick to build something for our forces. 2009, we launched our first drone. And 2010 is when it was first inducted in our forces. Fun fact, the drone you saw in the movie 3 Idiots was an early prototype of ours. So my team shot the... So we have literally pioneered and made the space visible to the common masses in this space. And then, of course, now over the years, our customers have flown over 550,000 missions on our drones. Every 4 minutes, an ideaForge drone takes off in the country, either doing a security or a mapping mission, making sure that we can be as safe as our technology can allow us to be. What we also do is that we've done a lot of vertical integration insofar as this tech stack is concerned. So we pretty much build all of the major or the majority of the subsystems have been built in-house by our team. And that allows us to build some of the best performing drones in the world, and not just a drone, but genuinely in the categories that we built for, we built some of the best performing drones in the world, and we are proving it not just in the country, but whenever we go and demonstrate outside as well. Thank you, Ram.
Thank you. Nikunj?
Thank you, Ram. I would like to thank nasscom to bring me here. It's an honor to be here on this stage. I'm in the midst of superstars here. So 2 lines on Ankit. तारों से हमने सीखा है हरदम टिमटिमाना, सूरज का क्या है उसे फिर ढल जाना. I think Ankit has been a pioneer, is a pioneer, and he has motivated a lot of people, especially somebody like me. When we started off, and मैं 12वीं फेल हूँ physics, chemistry, maths. And plus I'm a sailor, so the black sheep of the family was sent out at sea for 16 years. And then one fine day I decide to, I want to get into the startup journey. The journey has been extremely tough. I would say it's not easy. 2 decades of Ankit putting here, another a year and a decade and a half of Sagar Defence. And I would try to bring it a point here. सबने समुद्र मंथन के बारे में सुना है, right? We have read about समुद्र मंथन. And in Samudra Manthan, 14 different monies had come out. And if you see, it started with the wish, the poison at first, and ends with the Amrit in the end. I think the journey cycle of a startup is exactly in the same lines. And if you think, why wish first and Amrit last? So if I take the first 5 points in a growth stage startup, where Ankit is also positioned today after going public, and we are on the cusp of it. In the journey, and when you start, especially in the defense forces, there's a lot of wish there. People would not accept you. It's very difficult when you go out and against, I would say Agora, if you look in a Western and European or an American, they're not going to take you seriously. So you need to fight that out. Now, once you are able to take that wish, that poison in, then comes the second stage, where you get that calm denu. So that means you get the knowledge. Then comes a point where you become an Ayurved ka hathi. So hathi chale bazar kutte bhoke hazar, it doesn't bother you. Keep working hard, you keep putting in your strength across. Finally the Tajposhi happens, and then the rest, everything falls in line. So the journey is tough. We at Sagar Defence, where we run away from a standard business operating procedures, we love to build factories. We Bindlik factory, I started out of 150 square feet. Today we are growing up in a 10 acres of a second factory. This has been also possible due to the team. It's not the product for me is the team. And one suggestion to all budding entrepreneurs here or who are looking to get into the journey is build up a very, very good team. Without that, you will not be able to reach anywhere in the journey of, from the wish to the Amrit. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, Nikunj, I'll stay with you since, and I'll talk to both of you about the same topic. Scaling an organization, starting with an idea, starting with a vision. Ankit, you talked about as students, you started experimenting and then it kind of became a business. Nikunj, you started from the sea and then you started getting your ideas coming out of that. But scaling any business requires 3 things. One is the team. I think it's right. What has been your experience in talent availability, talent building? Do you bring people in for aptitude and then train them on the thing? What is your strategy? Second is money. You mentioned the fact that investors are always, they have to be convinced. Sometimes, there are VCs in the room, so, I want to be a little proactive on this, or provocative, I should say, on saying that they may not understand the business, but they will follow others as well. They follow each other sometimes. But there is also this aspect of where you sell. Defense is a big piece to both of your business. And there is always this notion that from investors I keep hearing is that they are very leery about investing in businesses which have a government intersection. So how did you overcome that? That's the second part. The third part is your supply chain and technology. Because not all of it is available potentially in India. And, Ankit, you started 20 years ago. So definitely probably would not have been available. But some of it you have to build, some of it you have to get wherever you're getting from. So let's talk about these 3 pieces in scaling a business. Nikunj, maybe we'll start with you on this. Talent, your funding models, and then your supply chain and technology. And then Ankit will come to you.
So I am originally from Bihar, and gaon se pada hu, and then I came to Mumbai. So my thought process has always been, and Ankit would hate me for this, but I don't go to IIT and NIT. I go to tier 2, tier 3 cities on a personal level with my founding team. We actually go to those colleges and we pick up the people, the engineers at Sagar Defence. What we have been picking up is generally who somebody has a 3 KTs in his final year is somebody I would pick up. For us, more important is the attitude, rather than having that knowledge base. Because knowledge can come across, talent can take to you a distance, but if you do not have the right set of attitude, then it is very difficult for them to survive in this industry and take it forward. In today's time, when people are looking for faster growth, faster progress, larger LPAs, which we both would have suffered on that front, across, it's very difficult to retain them. So how do you look towards your attrition? So you need these people, these young boys and girls who have the fire in the belly. So from day one, we have followed a very strong strategy of actually going to villages and picking up people from there. Coming to investors, our journey, we have not raised much investments. I would say I hold still 90% of the equity of the organization even today. What we realized is in the first attempt, they told us to change the name. Sagar Defence Engineering doesn't sound good. Second, we were told that the business would not survive 6 months. Today, I'm being told that Nikunj put Sagar everywhere. SD sounds too foreigner. The logo is way too Western. Put Sagar everywhere. People are ready to give the money. On the contrary, I would say, somebody called up and said, Nikunj, 5 crore secondary mein le lo, Aashirwad de raha hu. So there was a time when people were not ready to even give 50 lakh rupees. So it's on the entrepreneur, it's on the team and on the organization actually to go ahead and explain. When you look at the venture capital, and especially in the defense domain, ESG is a big issue. And where ESG comes into play and you have a weaponized platform, then they have their own difficulties because they are looking at pension funds, they are looking at sovereign funds. So this was another challenge where now the scenario in India is changing. There are some really good venture capitalists, really good Ps who are ready to taking that leap of faith across. And third is the scale matrix of business. That means when we talk about government, basically the question comes, is there is a repeat order? What is the numbers? I think this visibility has started coming in from the government end also. So sustainability is coming in, and especially if people are aware on the defense side, I would say the defense procurement procedure manual is changing every 15 days. New policy coming in. Matter of fact, now the defense has gone to a stage where they tell you that if you have an IP, we are ready to take that as a mortgage and you don't need to come with a performance bank guarantee to put across. Now these procedural changes have come on the ground level. So the best business to invest, I would say, in today's time is defense. Central government आपका पैसा नहीं मारती है. Late दे सकती है, but the money comes across. And we work at high profit gross margins. He would not tell you, even I would not tell across. But we work at very large multiples. So this is one very good business to invest across also to the investors, I would like to say.
Fantastic. What about your tech stack? Your journey on building the technology, supply chain?
When you're looking at the supply chain in the journey, the biggest challenge for us is the semiconductors, where we feel the shortages. Our dependency is still on the Western and the Eastern world across. And at times there is no point reinventing. So you have to look an era of collaboration, where we have collaborated in terms of semiconductor supply with IAI and Boeing, in terms where we are working with them. Difficulties have been there, but yes, to get our first product in the market, it took us 11 years across. And for next almost a decade, we were investing heavily into the R&D, which was self-funded 90% of the time. As of now, where the scenario is changing and the government is looking at semiconductor productions and setting up fab labs here in India, it's a good opportunity. So those difficulties are still there, but yes, in time, they're going to change it. Yeah.
Thank you, Nikunj. Ankit?
Yeah.
Same three topics.
Absolutely. So I think from the standpoint of talent, right, I think there is a challenge that I see in the country that whenever you want to dig 2-3 layers deep in the tech stack, people bottom out very fast. And I think that is one of the biggest challenge that we face when we want to build technology that is world beating. It cannot happen unless and until we have talent that can dig 2-3 layers deeper in the tech and figure out ways of doing something better that will get to that cutting edge advantage that you want in front of anybody else, right? And I think when we serve a customer like defense, it is an imperative on our on us to ensure that our country has strategic autonomy, that we can take our own decisions, we can act and behave the way our ethics and our morals and our rules allow us to build and behave. And I think to get that strategic autonomy, the depth of the tech stack is very, very critical and very important. And to build that, you need talent. You need raw talent that can go really, really deep and come up with something which is exceptional in terms of performance in the real world. Therefore, I would say that there is a gap. For many years, we thought experience, including people coming from a lot of big corporates, would be the answer, and that would perhaps be the only answer. But we are finding that there are limits out there in terms of what talent and what quality of talent is available. And therefore, at least over the last couple of years, we have decided to invest in grooming talent as well. So we go hire talent. We are quite agnostic to where we get our talent from. We can't reach everywhere today or tomorrow. But just finding those high capability, high capacity people is something that we have started doing. We do believe that it will pay up in the long term for building that talent, but building that habit of peeling layers in technology is, I think, very, very essential for us to ensure that we get to strategic autonomy in the country. Second, in terms of money, we are, I belong to a time where I have a very funny expression for it. We were like a tiger out of his cage in any VC event. Everyone would come to the event to watch the tiger, but nobody would come near it if it was out of its cage, right? So we would go to events where people would get up and say, I have goosebumps on my hands listening to your story, but funding would go to an e-commerce company only. It won't come to us. So I think, it is it's a hard journey to be in hardware, first of all. It becomes doubly hard when there is a lot of misconception about how government businesses behave and work. And I think I think things have improved quite a bit. Perhaps that was the reality, and perhaps that is the reality even today in commoditized businesses, where essentially there is no differentiation between this dal versus that dal, right? I mean, in a commoditized business, maybe that's still the case, but in a high technology business, I think government has gotten into a mode of partnering with companies rather than merely treating them as vendors. I think the change of narrative is very evident. And that partnership is what I believe is going to take us into the new drive and the new front. Challenges of addressing a government business will still remain. But if you have decided to address a market, then you have to live with the vagaries of the market. You have to build a business that can survive those vagaries insofar as the business building is concerned. And I think it is not impossible. It takes a lot of adjusting effort. People are not used to that nature of business. It is chunky. When it comes in such large droves that everything is washed off. But to wait for it to come is a very hard, very hard battle for people to fight and stay the course to survive. It's very hard. And 20 years of sort of building a technology that has main customer as government on the other side and defense particularly in many cases is something that I can vouch for, that it is hard. But if you build it the right way, if you build the right kind of products, if you're not into the game of fast wins and therefore do whatever it takes to get a win, it still doesn't work. Funnily, government may, trying to get a fast win doesn't work because the processes are such that they don't allow a fast win. It just is. And then you win, if you try to undercut and, build something which nobody else has built, it just doesn't work. You couldn't survive that. So I think things are changing, like you rightly said, from that time that we saw to a drove of investors now looking to invest in deep tech. Some investors who were a part of our own journey are now further making sure that more of that mindset is available to businesses in the ecosystem. And I think, I'm quite encouraged with how relatively easier it is now to build such a business in our country. And I think we are going to see a lot of good work coming out of that sector as well. Now, insofar as supply chain is concerned, I think Strategic autonomy, like I said, is an imperative that I believe we cannot let go of. We have seen that if we don't control the full stack, eventually there will be risks that are open. We saw that in the pager attacks that happened, right? Very recently, which implies that the ultimate imperative and the consensus that everyone has in the ecosystem is that we particularly need to have control on all the building blocks of the technology stack. However, I completely agree with Nikunj that not everything can be or can be done in the country today. It's just the ecosystem doesn't exist. Even tomorrow, some cutting edge nodes may not be available in the country for a foreseeable future. Therefore, building technology stack, understanding the depth of what it takes to build a secure stack is going to be a very, very crucial capability that all of us will have to have. And therefore, doing a lot of the intelligence work in the country, the software, making sure that the hardware, the security is not emanating from a geography of risk. It is emanating at least from a friendly country that is not likely to do tampering. And even if there is, we need to build our capability in software in other ways to detect that what we are doing is secure. At IdeaForge, we've spent 20 years in an environment where the open source ecosystem always comes after we have built something. So we had to build pretty much everything from scratch. The first time we built an autopilot was 2007, and the first open source autopilot for drones came in 2009. The second one, which is probably also equally popular, came in 2011. So we had to build the stack by default on our own. If you look at what happened in communication space, India very uniquely gave away very narrow, very bands very close to the Wi-Fi, the open spectrum on both sides. And that created so much congestion in being able to do long-range communications for a drone that we had to evolve our own tech stack for communications. We had to build our own payloads because globally people were not building lightweight enough Zoom payloads from the day we started. And we knew that we are building something for our forces. We have to build something that can get them closer to the target without being audible. So we had to literally solve for each of these subsystems in a way that we can, gain in the process the autonomy to design it as we wish to design it, and at the same time ensure that we can get the capability that our customers deserve and desire. So that's how we had to do it.
Very, very clear for both of them. I'll open it up in the interest of time, open it up for audience questions. We have about 2 minutes. Any questions from the audience? There's one over there.
So yeah, my question to you is, you said about the open source stack. Would you mind contributing back, or maybe, talking about projects where you want the community to contribute from an open source community? Like, let's look at the other way around now. Like, since now you are a listed company, you can contribute back also. Or, take up some issues where you want contribution from the community.
So I would, it's a very fine balance because when I say that we need strategic autonomy, we also need differentiated capability. We need superior capability to our adversary. So it's a very fine balance. It's going to be hard to choose what is not helping our adversary gain the same advantage. Like the entire, Cold War or the war between two nations today is not a physical war always. It is the war of differentiated capabilities, right? I mean, what are we comparing on all YouTube videos? We are comparing F-16 versus Rafale and F-22 versus Rafale. So the point is capability matters in the theater of war because tactics will get copied. So we have to be very careful about what we can and we cannot be very open about. While I do believe that it is useful to build up everyone's knowledge, but we have to balance, particularly when we are working for a customer who is going to use that capability for national advantage, we have to balance that a little bit better. So I don't have a clear answer, but it is a dichotomy that we have to face pretty much every day.
Great, thank you. I think we are almost at time, so maybe we can people can interact with you after the session if they have any questions.
One last question, maybe?
Okay, fine. One
Okay.
last question.
Yeah, Ankit, here, this side. Yeah,
Which
you had
side?
mentioned that now it has become easier for startups to maybe sell to defense. I wanted you to maybe just drill down on that part. I mean, in what way it has become easier? Do you think it's still better for startups to partner with existing defense vendors to say provide solutions for the armed forces, or they can actually go on their own and it's possible today?
See, I mean, because I don't have experience on the other side, to be a partner to a subsystem provider, so I can't really answer for that. But the way it has become easier for an OEM to interact with the defense is that there are avenues like the design bureaus that all the three forces have, whose main job is to interface with the industry, and they're doing a great job in sort of bringing the industry to understand the challenges on ground that the forces have, and then bridging the capability that the industry is projecting to a need inside the forces. So that's one. The second piece is that these programs like the IDEX program, which have both challenges that they're throwing to the industry, where the industry can come up with a solution and get support in terms of guaranteed orders if you build the technology or if you solve the problem in that broad sense, right? Nikunj is a big beneficiary for that. On the other hand, you can go and you can say that I have something innovative. I want you to investigate if there is need or use for this technology in the forces, and they will be happily doing that as well. So from that point of view, IDEX and the design bureaus have become a huge vector, but I would let Nikunj add because he's probably the biggest beneficiary for some of these things.
Yeah.
When you look at all these things, the biggest challenge is the policy. And when you look at the startup policy, especially in terms of what the government is looking at in the defense forces, as Ankit rightly said that, from SIDM or CI or FICCI, if you go across to them, they have these industry interactions. At the same time, as a startup, there are different nodes. For example, Navy has something called NIO or TDAC. Army has Army Design Bureaus, plus they have the nodal agencies across in different states also where the command is available. So you can go to these nodal agencies. Same thing is available for the Air Force. The biggest challenge for any company to enter the defense forces is the qualification criteria. That means your finance, turnovers, your work experiences. So almost up to 150 crores, you do not need to be bothered about it. Matter of fact, in some cases up to 300 crores, they have given exemptions. So you can do that. As per policy, up to 200 crores has to be a must be make in India. You cannot have a buy global policy at all. So these features have come in. So you don't need to be worried about your financial background. So straight away go to a nodal agencies, put it across to them. It's all available on the websites. Make 1, make 2, make 3 across. So you can go to these websites, look into it, and it's straight away there. So that way the system has become really easy to enter inside and bid for these contracts.
Thank you. I think we are at time, but they'll be available in case anybody else has any questions for them. Thank you, Ankit. Thank you, Nikunj. It's been a pleasure.